Hello guys, let's do another Inside My Head. My opponent is AA Dimes and we are going to engage in a Rui Lopez. I was trying to get some high profile opponents and I specified my search as 2000 and above, so yeah. We'll see how we go. We already played a game that I did not record. It was way closer than it should have been. So I'm hoping to be able to demonstrate some coolness here. Now, if he plays castles, I'm going to play my pet line pawn d3, which is basically designed to avoid the marshal and give a unique character to the position, where maneuvering and basically trying to outplay your opponent in a more closed structure is far more present. And he just blundered the pawn, which I'm going to give him back because that would be a very sad scenario. So d6 is called for here, and then I will play c3 to deny the knight a5 motif. So yeah, d6 is the way to go. c3, so that move is played partly to prepare for d4 later on, but partly so that I can tuck my bishop away. Now this is something I may have spoken already on my channel about. This pin is always bad in this structure because I can kick the bishop out, and when it goes back here I can kick it out again. And in fact, very often I can even kick it out with playing g4 first, and then knight g3, then knight f5, build up a very dangerous kingside initiative, and the pin stops existing before it even started doing anything. So that is actually a waste of a bishop there. Two far better moves could have been bishop e6, or simply holding the bishop on c8 and first expanding in the center by means of knight a5 and c5. Right, so if I were to play g4 now, then I think he has got knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes with check, picking up the f3 knight. So we are simply going to play knight here. And we are going to aim to get on to f5 with the knight, which is basically the whole entire point of rerouting the knight to here, is that I want to get onto this juicy f5 square. So he has two unpleasant choices now. Bishop takes is one of them. The other one is bishop g6, which will be very strongly met by knight h4, which not only prepares to invade via f5, but please know that this is actually hanging for free owing to the pin. So now we go in. And my next moves, there are two ways to continue this attack on the king side now. One of them is to play queen f3 and start to pressurize these points, or we can play f4 and only then queen f3, which would give us a way better scope, or a way larger scope to attack on the king side, but it would take more time to take effect. So let's see how he goes. Yeah, it's not an easy position to play for black already. Now, when the rook removes itself from the a file, another very typical procedure to continue the game is after a right hook, a left jab. So now a4 comes with the intention of takes, and penetration on the a file, and to some extent weakening the pawn too. So this is a very juicy motif, one that a lot of players, especially on lower level, would underestimate. But good old Alekhine taught us to play on the whole entire board, and this is exactly what I'm trying to mimic here. We are copying good old Alexander. Also, sometimes takes, and rook a6 is annoying to deal with. d5 is logical, so I'm essentially attacking on both wings. So it makes sense that he's trying to find counterplay in the middle. So I think it's time for me. I do wonder if I want to take first and then queen f3. I don't want to move out from the queen trade, although even that, I'm not quite sure of if I have to or if I need to. But I prefer to play with queens, and in general the position is asking for aggressive attacking chess. So this is what we are going to do. If he takes, I'm going to take back. If he pushes in, I'm going to leave it on. So then I will take, and then I will consider capturing stuff. Let's put it this way. Rook a6 looks like a juicy move there to put pressure on here. So takes, rook in. Now I have got a threat already, which comes from a beautiful combination, or rather a beautiful cooperation was the word, of the pieces on the queen side and the pieces on the king side. So now I can take this. And he is unable to take back with the queen because of the knight is hanging. And if he takes back on e7 with anything else, let's say for the argument's sake with the knight, then I can take this pawn here, and when he retakes, f6 is hanging. So that's a really, really nice example of how pieces can cooperate from multiple parts of the board. So I need this guy down here, that guy down there, and I also need the knight on f5. So it's a very unlikely scenario that these three guys would cooperate so that we can pull off a tactic with their aid. And it's actually quite difficult to hold. If bishop d8, which would be a move that deals with this. Yeah, so yeah, here we have got a bit of a misplayed business by black, but the good news is that it allows me to execute a truly beautiful tactic. It's easy to see that knight takes h6 wins on the spot because they take back and then queen takes here. However, I then look at knight takes g7 because it destroys a more important pawn in front of the king, and if king takes, then bishop takes he check, luring the king further out. And if the king takes that too, then queen takes f6 check, bishop here, and knight f5 check leads to mate. Bingo. The only thing I didn't calculate out loud is the hardest line to see both from the side of the defender and the attacker. So if he takes and I go check and he goes king up, denying or declining the take on h6, then I think I have got rook takes here, and if queen takes, then queen f5 check will force him to take the bishop, and then after queen takes, we enter the same variation. But there may be other ways to continue the game after king g6, but for the time being... Oh yeah, I also have knight f5, which is probably even stronger. Threatening with a variety of mates. So king was lured out from there all the way to h6. We know that that's an ultimate sign that the game is about to end. And yeah, now knight f5 check has to be captured by the queen, because if king up, then g4 mate, and if king back, then queen g7 mate. So that was basically a textbook example. Really don't want to blow my own trumpet about how to attack on the king side against this early bishop g4 sortie. Oh, I thought I clicked on rematch. And yeah, actually, instead of playing a rematch, I'm just going to quickly go through this game to once again highlight the points, because I think once again it was quite a good example of what I... Oh no, he wants a rematch. Okay, let's go rematch. Okay, let's go Sicilian. Oh no, it's a different guy. Oh, dang it. Okay, never mind. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to play a variation that I tend not to play online, just to give a bit of a... Yeah, never mind. I wanted to play a dragon. Yeah, alright, so I'm just playing some random stuff now. My head is still with the previous game. And then I was quite keen on playing some dragony thing, and now it looks like it's not going to happen. But whatever, we'll go with the flow. This is actually not a good move whether to play this, because here e5 can cause a bit of a drama. If takes, knight takes, and then my pawn structure is messed up. But we'll be fine for the time being, I believe. So yeah, I don't really understand why people play bishop b5 lines on this level, because the open Sicilian is such an awesome resource of playing fun, full of tactics, full of attack position. If you really want to learn how to attack, how to play dynamic chess, how to understand attack, defense, how to understand initiative, the open Sicilian is the best thing you can do in life. In fact, the open Sicilian really is one of the most fun things you can do in chess. So I never understood any player on earth who played e4 but avoided the open Sicilian. I mean, the number one reason why I play e4 is because I can't wait for my opponents to open with Sicilian so that we can have a fun back and forth fight where really we have tremendously fun times. Like, that's my number one reason to play e4. And those people who don't think like me, I respect their choice, but I think that this is a little bit of a killjoy approach towards yourself, really. Because what's fun in playing this as black as white now? Like, we are going to be in a tedious maneuvery stuff for the next 30 odd moves. Boring stuff. Speaking of which, the structure is very sturdy and very, very closed, which means that the knights for the time being may have the better prospects, but in the long term, my plans are going to be more present because whilst his plan predominantly is to try to exploit somehow the weakness of these pawns, I want to launch an attack by castle, bishop e6, f5, h6, f4, g5, g4, and just push them back all the way as far as I possibly can. So I'm going to start the journey right away. Knight a3 is aimed to come to c4, which again is a really awesome square for the knight, and it denies me playing d5. But at the same time, what are you playing for, dude? It's not clear what he's trying to achieve. Later on, often players play a3, b4 in that structure to try to break the position a little bit more open so that they have got an attacking surface on the queen side. But yeah, I think that he's still in the belief that he's going to play to the queen d2 and attack. No, okay, so he's doing some sensible stuff. So yeah, the knight has arrived, and now it's time for us to kick off this attack on the wing with f5, plan f4, g5, g4, checkmate. And once again, this is the problem with the white structure, that when you are sitting on the white side of this board, you go like, what am I playing for? What is my plan? And really, the only logical plan that he could have gone here would have been a quick a3, b4, which would have forced me to take, and then a7 would have hung on that diagonal, and in general, the queenside weaknesses would have become more accessible. Now, he's still looking at coming down here, but again, it doesn't hurt me. Now, if you play bishop a5, I just put my queen up here, and I'm good. Perhaps b4 would have been better. It's still playable. But yeah, this is literally his last chance to get this in and start something going, or else he's going to be really, really quickly swept off. He's going to be swept off the board with g5, f4, h4. Yeah, a lot. In fact, I don't even need to push this in early to commit to the closing of the position. I can just start with g5 because taking bishop takes seems like it keeps on opening diagonals and files for my line moving pieces. If b4, by the way, hits, then I think my best go-to is to take and then play c5 again. Which is why traditionally they prepare it with a3 and only then play b4, so that when takes happens, I can't reinforce it again with c5. But yeah, I'm really worried for white here because I managed to build up a very harmonious and very powerful position without having to compromise at all. Good move again. So he does understand the structure. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention to you is that we constantly miss this tactic here of takes, and he can't take like that because of the knight he's hanging, and if rook takes, then I have this fork. However, if I play d5, then knight e5 is powerful there. How could I make that work? Take rook takes d5, knight e5. So I would either have to move my queen, which I'm not really keen on doing, or I would have to defend my dude here. Which I could do with g5, knight g6, but that takes one too many moves. So g5, d4 takes, rook takes. Yeah, actually there c5 and then knight c6 is ridiculously strong. Let's go. Yeah, I'm basically waiting for him to make a mistake here. Because b4 takes, rook takes c5, and then knight c6. Is going to attack this bishop. It's going to cover the pawn, so I can take there. Is just going to, yeah, wreak havoc. Big time. And if it doesn't do that, I still have this trick possible. And I also can swing across here defending e5 so that that trick becomes playable. And in general, 1919 is an awesome plan in this structure because the only way to kick that knight out is to play g3. And one would be more than reluctant to weaken white squares around their king when they don't have a white squared bishop. And I do. This guy keeps on challenging me 70 million times and it's really getting frustrating. Right, so yes, it was an interesting case of a misplayed opening on white's end. I did wonder where exactly things went wrong. Number one, he should have played here e5. Bishop g5 was a mistake because it forced me to play a move I wanted to play anyway. Another example of an ill-timed and ill-designed pin because I want to play h6 anyway in this structure. And going back that way wouldn't help because again f5, g5, f4 is exactly my plan. So actually best here would have been an immediate counterattack on the other wing with a3, b4 because developing from here on is not good enough. We need target specific developing. So either a3, b4 or first bishop e3 and then a3, b4 was the way to go. So I played b4. We are going to take it. Pretty much I can pre-move c5 because whatever takes back, c5 is coming. And not taking it back would also allow me to play c5. So it's a c5 fest that is coming. Yeah, c5. That was probably the better way to do it because now if I play knight c6, it's not going to come with a tempi. Had it taken with the rook, after c5, rook goes back, knight c6 still attacks the bishop with the tempo. Whereas if he drops back now somewhere, then once again it's still acceptable. Now the position is becoming very winning for me so that I have got a disturbing amount of choices. I can here take, rook takes, bishop d5. And if the rook goes back, knight f5, rook goes back. Actually, I don't see a forced win there yet. Bishop d5, knight f5. He has to go back to e3 or else I take here and the double pawns will be unbearable. So I will take this. As a matter of fact, after bishop d5, his best defense would be to leave the rook on prey and wait for me to take, so that after pawn retakes, my best bishop is gone, and my pawn structure would become rigid on these squares. I will play bishop d5 nonetheless, but if he leaves it on, I may opt to not to take it yet. First, I would improve some of my pieces, and only then would I take said rook. I don't know what he's thinking about because he must recapture, and yeah, not retaking is just as bad. As in, not retaking is not an option because then I'm just winning the game. I don't know whether he sees that after rook e4 d5 is not winnable, not winning for me because of knight takes e5. I will give him a hint. Just lead him to the right path. Out of generosity, no. No. Okay, well, free pawn. We're going to come in here and here. I think. Although I could come in here and here too, so it's a bit of a tough choice. But yeah, essentially the game is over. I just yeah, typed in that he needed to play rook takes e4 there. I'm very tempted to have a knight on f4. I can't resist the temptation, so that's the direction we are going. Knight on f4. Oh, he's saying that rook takes e4, g4. No. He's still wrong. Sorry about the typing. Bishop a5, very odd location for the bishop because on this diagonal there is nothing to do here. I would have gone back probably. And this is, by the way, again, a typical mistake of lower level players, that they see a fork and they don't calculate any further. Now, to his credit, he did calculate further and he looked at g4, chasing the knight away, and then d5, but that still doesn't work because of knight takes e5. And it's still messy. He definitely should have tried that, because in terms of practical chess, here he's absolutely dead. Ooh, this is such an awesome move. And yet I can't really play it because g3, and I don't see a forced win there. Dang it. I wanted to have a flashy finish of this game, but I can't see one quite yet. Can I play knight takes, king takes, bishop check, king back, and if queen g4, rook here, so I go rook takes f2 first, and then check is threatened, as well as well, not much else really. But yeah, this has to be the, yeah, that's the call. We destroy the king, boys. Remember this: at any given moment in time in chess, your target is your enemy's king. So we are going relentlessly after it. So if he goes back, I have got mate. If he goes up, I have got mate. So he has to go back to the corner. Queen c6 is not quite mate yet. Oh god. So yeah, he has to go to h1, and after check, he can block with the knight here, or he can block with the pawn there too. So the best what? Wow, he is not very cooperative. So I will show you how this would have ended. So he should have played here king h1, and after rook takes f2, I thought that I was mating here, but apparently not. Wow. Okay, I got carried away here a little bit, because he had got queen b3, which I didn't see, and I thought that here queen g4 or queen f5 was curtains, but not quite yet. Apparently I need to play here very carefully. So what went wrong here? Yeah, apparently my first instinct was better than bishop h3, or even queen c6 first. Let's go with, oh yes, and if knight e4, then d5 wins. So I actually got a bit too cocky here. Yeah, he played king g1, which allowed mate, but really he should have played here king h1, against which, as I said, I wanted to do this. But queen b3 with this discovered check is such a nasty resource. I missed this. So the computer's line goes takes, queen e6. This feels a bit wobbly. Rook e5, rook here, queen d5, bishop d2 check, king here, queen d5, rook takes, bishop takes. Wow. And in the end, it's a pawn-up ending. Oh, not even. Rook takes, pawn takes, king takes, bishop back. Wow. So, whilst I was very busy blowing my trumpet very, very hard, it turned out that my knight takes g2 actually was not the cleanest way to mop it up, and the simple queen c6, f3, and g4 then would have been more efficient. Well, there you go. Lesson learned. Yeah, probably the other game was a tad bit better. The one in the Spanish, that was a very, very clear-cut attack that was quite well played, I believe. And once again, the motives that I wanted to show you, that in these Spanish lines, bishop g4 is never a good move, especially when d4 hasn't been played. There is a line in d4 variation when they don't play h3 when it's sound, because it undermines the d4 square in the center. But here it's just terrible because it steps into so many tempos. That was a tempo. In fact, in this position as white, my next three moves would be h3, knight here, knight here. Now, owing it to bishop g4, I got to play this with a tempo, this with a tempo, this with a tempo, and there we go, dominating the king side totally. Oh wow, yeah, I missed here a beautiful tactic of takes. Oh, maybe not. It changed its mind. So what was it? Yeah, because if takes queen d2, king h8, queen takes, then rook g8 may survive. I actually played the best move a4 here. I'm very proud. d5, queen f3 is not best. d4, take, rook a6. Looking like we have played near perfect chess here. And again, takes g7. Excellent, takes. Wow, that was pretty awesome. I'm very proud for that. Somebody does show you how many mistakes and errors were made. I think that was fairly clean. I don't know where it shows it. Somewhere. But whatever. I hope that you guys found these two games instructive enough, despite of occasional chalks, especially at the end of the second game. But yeah, I think that they carried some value. So I hope you liked it, and I will be back with more. Thanks for watching. Bye.